All eyes on Rivers State with the latest ruling coming from the Court of Appeal, three-member panel ruling that the Rivers State High Court lacked jurisdiction in granting the exparte order, citing Section 272, subsection 3 of the Constitution, which exclusively empowers the Federal High Court to determine vacancies in the House of Assembly. Reactions continue to trail this new development, some pointing fingers in the direction of whether or not this order has addressed the substantive case, which has to do with why their seats were declared vacant in the first place. I'm joined by Executive Editor Kayode Ladende in the studio this evening. Interesting development coming from Rivers, and just at the point where you think the dust is settling, the court seemed to have, unsettle it yet again. But what way forward right now? We're probably going to be looking at how stakeholders will react. Does this mean that the lawmakers will now return, to start sitting and making laws? Or how does the police also, react in the situation? Or what do you see would happen, foresee to happen in the coming days?
Nifemi, just like stakeholders in Rivers politics, let me use the word confused, except those who have interest, who will tell you that the ruling is in their favor.
Absolutely.
However, I think the thing goes back to the judiciary. We call them the interpreters. We call them the people who should intervene when there are legal tussles, where there are legal log jams. And so you would expect that, the higher court should have higher authority over the lower court. It has come to say the particular Rivers State High Court lacked jurisdiction. But we are also looking at this confusion about courts of coordinate jurisdiction, where this court is giving this ruling and this particular court is giving another ruling. As it stands, as a journalist, as a layman who is watching the legal interpretation, we can say that we recall what the Federal High Court did say, that as far as these lawmakers are concerned, that mere saying that they've decamped to APC is not a proof that they've officially decamped. Remember that ruling. Now, this court has come to further say that the other court, who ruled that their seat should be vacated, is now saying that going on appeal is now explaining to us that in the first place, they don't have jurisdiction. So where do we stand? Now, Ikenga, that's the G60 lawmakers, have come out to explain in their own way. Don't forget that Ikenga is also a lawyer, but I wouldn't know when last he actually went to the law court. But he has come out to say that we are misinterpreting what the law says, that as far as they are concerned, they are only looking at the other angle, not really saying they don't have jurisdiction. In my own way, I would have expected that what the court is saying is that as far as these lawmakers are concerned, they've not gone to the proper courts to say that these guys their seat should be vacated. They should leave their seat. That's my own interpretation. But the way he has come out to do the live broadcast does not agree with my position. So, give or take, we are still going to have that confusion.
No, it is characteristic of politicians to interpret court decisions the way it suits them. The Court of Appeal was clear to have said that this is a matter of jurisdiction, and stating Section 272 of the Constitution that only a Federal High Court has a jurisdiction to, sit on matters like this. So it means, therefore, that you can take this back to the High Court. But let's talk about the political implication of this. There is the APC in Rivers State that prior to this time had claimed
they have majority.
Have claimed that they have the majority. And then you have the lawmakers returning to court, saying that they actually have not defected. But let me try to bring in some of the stakeholders, if I can quickly, in this matter. Tambari Gbara is the Commissioner for Environment and also former State Publicity Secretary of the PDP in Rivers State. Mr. Gbara, thank you for joining us on the program this evening. First, let's have the Fubara camp's reaction to the Court of Appeal ruling today. Mr. Gbara, how's the River State government reacting to this court ruling? Yes, I can.
They say the judiciary is the last arbiter for the common one. We have respect for the judiciary, and
well, I think we lost him for a bit. We'll try to reconnect with Mr. Gbara and then follow up with the reaction coming from River State on this matter. But the APC really must be in some dilemma as we speak. 1 minute, the caretaker chairman was saying, I'm going to tell our members to impeach.
Let's not be politically correct here. We know the APC led by Okocha, as far as they are concerned, is not about APC. It's all about anti-Fubara. It's all about, definitely they will welcome this judgment, even if they don't say it publicly. The fact that they've said this guy should remain in power, and you know where their loyalty lies. Absolutely. So politically, we know that APC as a name may not be about, even if we don't have a single member in the state assembly, we may not be bothered. But like you said, if we want to be politically correct, then we should ask that question from the APC leadership in the state. Why rejoice? What is your take? Shouldn't you be planning for the local government election? These are issues that we should ask them. But we know it is about two gladiators. We know it is about two interests. We know it's about this versus this. So we shouldn't make any mistake about
I remember speaking with the publicity secretary who mentioned that they were not carried along. You know, while he was saying that the IPAC chairman said that all the parties were sent a letter, but that we all know that APC was in court, and that's perhaps why they were not carried along. Mr. Gbara is back. You were telling us about the River State government reaction to the Court of Appeal ruling today.
Yes. We are not going to, start, challenging the decision of the courts. The courts, in their wisdom, has given their judgment, and we know that there are still, other avenues to explore. But what I might say is that, our feeling is we are positive. We are those who have, decided to stand with His Excellency, the Executive Governor of River State, and that is where we are. And whatever be the case, that's where we are. The courts only pass the judgment based on jurisdiction. And we know what the legal implication of that means. It means, first, we can either move up to appeal in the Supreme Court, or we can come back to approach a state federal court to still channel our case. So nothing much. It's just that, and we move on.
Are you saying that the River State government will now recognize the Martin Amaewhule lawmakers in the interim?
No, I'm not saying that. The court only passed a judgment based on jurisdiction. And we'll know that the Right Honorable Okojombo, Speaker of the River State House of Assembly, emanated from a court judgment that recognized Right Honorable Edison Ehie as the substantive Speaker of the River State House of Assembly, and that judgment has not been overturned up to today. However, Ehie resigned and is now Chief of Staff, and the House convened and elected Right Honorable Okojombo as the Speaker of the River State House of Assembly. So, in the face of the law, as we speak, ab initio, Right Honorable Okojombo remains the Speaker of the River State House of Assembly, and that's our position.
Interesting way to have interpreted it. Let me hear from the caretaker chairman of the APC in Rivers, and then I'll be back with you shortly. Mr. Tony Okocha, thank you for joining us on the program this evening. How's the APC reacting to this new development? Mr. Okocha, are you there? We'll probably get back to him.
Hello. Hello.
Mr. Okocha, I was asking how the APC is reacting to the Court of Appeal ruling today. We'll get back to him subsequently. Mr. Gbara, quickly talk to us about what this means, for political developments in Rivers, especially when you consider the fact that Martin Amaewhule and 24 lawmakers seem to have a different interpretation from what you are saying. They're probably going to resume at the House of Assembly complex to continue their duty of lawmaking.
Well, of course, we all know that will be taking Rivers State back to the dark days as it concerns, lawmaking in Rivers State. We saw that despite the fact that they know that for them to even have answered lawmakers before their seats were declared vacant by the court, they were only surviving on the leverage of His Excellency Sir Siminalayi Fubara, who gave them a lifeline by signing that presidential proclamation, which recognized them, thinking that at some point, politics is a give and take game, no permanent friend, no permanent enemy. Maybe they could realize the need that Rivers State interests should come first before the interests of anybody or any group of persons. But what we saw in Rivers State was the most retrogressive and retarded legislation I've ever seen in my life.
Mr. Barra, I didn't quite understand what you meant by the governor giving the lawmakers lifeline. I thought that the legislature is an independent arm of government. And as we speak right now, the Court of Appeal, which is a superior court, is saying that the expulsion of these 25 lawmakers, has been annulled. Are you in any way suggesting that the governor has some powers to do as he like with the lawmakers?
No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that for the mere fact that they defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress, when there were no crises, neither at the national level of the PDP or at the state level of the PDP. The law is very clear on that any legislature that decamps, leaves his party to another party, when there are no known crises, automatically leaves his seat. The law is very, very clear on that. And that was their situation before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his wisdom, in trying to intervene to the looming crisis, political crisis in Rivers State, as at that time, invited the both parties to a meeting. And the governor, in his magnanimity, graciously signed to that 8-point agenda. The proclamation I'm talking about. He signed to it, and one of the points which he signed to was that recognizing that Martin Amaewhule and his assembly, should continue to function.
All right.
But their attitude, yes, and their antecedents after them was rather negative and retrogressive, too bad for Rivers State that, litigants had to approach, the courts to see to it that they were, interpretations
Mr. Barra,
that will keep them aside.
Please hold that thought. Let me attempt to bring in Tony Okocha, who is the the caretaker committee chairman of the APC in Rivers State. Mr. Okocha, the court appears to have ruled on the issue of jurisdiction and not on the substance of the expulsion, which is premised on them decamping from the PDP to your party, the APC. What do you make of this development? Well, it's difficult balancing this conversation, but interesting. Mr. Okocha, I think you have to unmute your mic. We can hear you from here.
About appeal that came eventually today was sound in law. The reasoning and the arguments adduced by the learned justices of the Court of Appeal were so profound, and nobody can question whatever. Well, I'm not the Supreme Court. Or the Supreme Court is the opposite point of it. But what it has done today is that it settled all the issues, all the great areas that have bedeviled River States over time. We have had a litany of court orders, court judgments in the.
Well, it's sometimes very frustrating when technology doesn't, just cooperate on the show. But Mr. Okocha, if you can hear me, we have just about 2 more minutes to go on the show.
Why do I say so?
Yes.
The entire gamut of what we call the students in Nigeria would have been a child's play. It would have gone into the dustbin. Should the Court of Appeal have said today that a judge who has no jurisdiction over a matter can assume jurisdiction and do whatever he wants to do. That's one issue the Court of Appeal is settled today. And I give kudos to them. They have saved the law. The other is the fact that there was an attempt to shave somebody in his presence absence. The issue of fair hearing is also an issue that even a baby lawyer understands clearly.
Mr. Kocha.
So all the matters have been settled.
Yes.
I don't know what my friend here is saying about...
we have completely... Mr. Kocha, if you can hear me...
In judgment against...
We have completely run out of time, but in a minute, if you can, you publicly accepted these lawmakers into the APC. At some point, you even mentioned that you were going to ask them to kickstart the process of impeaching the governor. You must be shocked to hear them say in court that they never decamped, right?
I'm not shocked, because at the time we were discussing, we were still weighing them. They don't have our ID card. They don't have our membership card. They're not registered in any of our wards in our membership register. So we're still weighing them to come, because at the point they had lost their membership of the PDP circumstantially. And so they were looking for where to go. So it was within our ambits.
All right.
It's a law. With the function of a political party
I
to
hear
move
you.
anybody back into their fold.
I hear you, Mr. Kocha.
Yes.
Mr. Agbara, can you quickly react to that? Because you were mentioning that they decamped. The APC chairman says that they actually did not. How do you react to that?
Well, it's very funny to see Tony Okocha speaking from the both sides of his mouth, and he has failed to realize that that event at the Polo Club in GRA Port Harcourt was covered by national television, where he graciously received those lawmakers into his party APC and pronounced that they were now members of APC. I don't understand at a point where he's saying that because they have lost the membership of PDP, they were trying to see how they can hold them. Hold them in what instance? I don't understand what he's trying to say.
Mr. Agbara.
What I will say here categorically is that the law is very, very clear on these lawmakers, and they know that they no longer exist as lawmakers in the River State House of Assembly.
You know, we had a big challenge connecting with both of you earlier on in the show. We have out of time. A big thank you, Tony Okocha, Tambari Agbara, for joining us on the program this evening. We'll continue this conversation subsequently. Absolutely, we have not had the end as regards the political tussle in Rivers State. But that's our show tonight. Thanks for being a part of it. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifem.